Welcome to the Pinstripers podcast, a podcast about pinstripers, hosted by two pinstripers. I'm one of your hosts, Jack Fleming.
And I am your other host, Freddie Villa. And today we have the great Hot Rod Jen, Jennifer Thomas, coming out of the northeast area of the United States. I believe Pennsylvania, but she'll tell us there on the interview. And today I think we have a sponsor for the episode, Jack.
We do. Brian Beecham from Committed Car Club sponsored this episode and wanted to give a shout out to the people in his car club there, or I guess their truck club, mini trucks. Yeah.
All right, folks. And if anybody wants to sponsor one of the episodes, we're asking for $20 minimum. You do get a shout out to your name and to your organization, whatever you would like. $20 minimum to help us continue doing the podcast, as we do have to pay for this out of pocket. And if you'd like to send any extra money, we would accept all of your millions of dollars. And without further ado, here we have Hot Rod Jen.
Hello.
Hey, Jen.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Awesome.
Let me give me 1 second. Let me merge Jack onto this three-way.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Jack, you there?
I am here.
All right, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's like good night for you, right, Freddie?
Yeah, I worked last night, and then I came home, and I got a chance to do this little motorcycle tank somebody gave me.
Uh-huh.
And I feel really good about it. I've not really had a chance to do a tank where I just had a chance to do something I wanted to do on it. So,
I'm glad you got that experience, because those are the best ones.
Yeah, I don't know how to spray stuff, so I just kind of did my little scrolly thing, but I think it looks super cool.
Nice. I bet it looks awesome.
Is it a tank that was already painted then, and you're just striping it? Or?
Yeah, somebody gave me, I think it was like a 1980s Sportster tank, whatever that was.
And they just let you cut loose on it?
They gave it to me. They just gave it to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're like, here. It's a fella that we know, a friend of my ladies, and sometimes he just gives me stuff. And sometimes it's like, it's like these big things, or we live in a tiny apartment, so I have a hard time keeping stuff. But yeah, it's a nice dark maroon. So like a lot of whatever you put on there pops. So I'll post it up here in just a little bit.
Didn't you get like the red or maroon tank a while back too?
Yeah, that's it, dude. It's been sitting here forever. I'm doing.
Oh, it's the same one.
It's the same one. I'm doing a little. It's like a car truck hot rod show in Daytona. I got invited to set up, and I figured I might as well just paint it, take it out there, see if somebody buys it.
Nice.
Oh, is that the same one that that Paul Poods is doing?
No, this I don't know who's doing this. It's like through Stingray Chevrolet here in town, and my friend Crystal Brookshire invited me to post up at her booth, and Rhiannon, who I can't think of her last name, but another painter is also going to be posted up there at the booth. So it is an invite. But anyways, enough about me.
I know. I'm feeling like we've got Jen here, and this is the interview of Freddie.
It's all good. It's all good.
We'll have to change our intro.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I don't mind. You guys know me.
Oh, it's good to have you on the show. Me and Freddie were talking earlier, and we're going to try and switch off, I guess, who's asking questions here and there. So I'm kind of going to be the one to get started here. So
sounds
welcome. I guess really just kind of get started. How would you introduce yourself? What would you want to tell people about you?
Well, I go by the name Hot Rod Jen, and I'm addicted to painting. And I like pinstriping and gold leafing and lettering, and you can catch me on Facebook at facebook.com/HotRodJen, or my website, Hot Rod Jen, or Instagram, which is Hot Rod Jen. It's easy to find me.
You're on YouTube as well, right?
Oh, yeah, which I haven't posted a video on YouTube, I think since March of last year.
Oh wow.
Which is
What's going on with
horrible. It's like come wintertime, it's easier for me to take the time to edit. And then come spring and summer, and my fall is really busy too. I just don't take the time to sit down in front of a computer screen, which I hate doing, and edit the videos. So, which stinks because it was going really good in the winter of last year. I just have to sit down, and I wish I had someone to just edit my stuff down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been taking videos through the whole, spring and summer. So I have all, the video stuff. It's easier for me to like just edit like a 1-minute video in the morning before breakfast and post it for a reel and then just get on with my day. But with the YouTube editing, it's more involved. You guys are both on YouTube, so you know what's up.
I find that if I don't get to editing something for YouTube, like right after making it, it just sits there to be edited forever. I've got 2 that I think have been on my phone for 6 months or better.
Oh, totally. Like I just actually I have a phone that the memory is like 512 gigs.
Nice.
So like I had like 80 gigs left of storage, and I hooked it up to my computer to like upload the videos just to get them off my phone and to like start actually doing something with them. It took like 12 hours for downloading. So I was like, okay, well, I'll see my phone in the morning sometime, but yeah, it's something I don't really enjoy doing. And if I don't really enjoy doing it, most likely I'm just not going to do it. So, but I'll get around to it for sure. Like it's hard because like, it's funny because some people want instruction videos and then other people just want to watch you paint. And then like, like painting videos, how long it takes us to paint something. So like if we're lettering a vehicle, like one side might take you hours, like, do they really want to watch all of that? No, like people have the attention span of like a gnat these days, but some people don't mind watching for 30 minutes and some people only want to watch for 2 minutes. So
I'm finding myself that I really am liking editing huge videos down to the minute or less content for short form stuff.
Yeah. That's what I do.
There's more of an art to it.
Yeah, it's easy. Like I can seriously make a 1-minute video in under a minute for my video content, and like that to me, I'm like, okay, it's done, it's over with, But yeah, like I've been thinking about.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been thinking about like trying to find some local, video person, like a young kid, in school or something, be like, hey, I'll pay you this if you do this for me, like just edit my stuff down. So
I was going to say, I think the fun part of the short stuff is, taking 40 minutes, maybe a video, and finding like the little gem pieces that fit together, to make a short video entertaining or good.
Like whenever I like pinstripe circles, I make sure I put them in the video because people go bonkers. They're like, what?
Yeah. How'd you do
that? Yeah, I dig that part too. When you do the circles, I'm like, she's so good at it.
Yeah. Twisting that brush hard.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of how to word this. I guess when Freddie and I, had originally talked about doing the podcast here, we were wanting to get people on it that people know, but maybe they haven't heard from a lot. And then with that, we kind of held off having you on here because it seems like every podcast that interviews a pinstriper, you're one of the maybe main 3 that they reach out to.
I've only been on one podcast, I think.
Really? I feel like we've seen you on a bunch of stuff.
I'm pretty sure. I think I've only been on one.
Yeah, maybe it's other things because I know you're on like videos put out by other people on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But with that, the reason that we decided to reach out to you, you made an announcement last year of something coming up, an award that you're getting. And then we thought that'd be good timing to have you on here. So that is, what is it? It's the Pinstripe Legends Award.
Yep.
I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, it's the Pinstripe Legends Lifetime Achievement Award. And they called me up, and they said that I was the pick this year, and I was just like, no way, like I didn't believe it. I really didn't. I was like, you guys are joking with me, and they're like, no. So that's such an honor to be, selected out of my peers for that. I'm the youngest person that they're honoring, which is mind blowing. And it's been going on for 20 years, and it's pretty cool because it's almost my 20th year of pinstriping. So I thought that was pretty cool.
What year did you start pinstriping?
I started pinstriping in 2004.
That's, I think, about the same year I started.
Yeah. So, yep. And this 2023 is.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's 2023. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long, fun journey, and it's something that I never thought would change my life. It's something I got into just for the art sake of it. I was interested in it, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. I want to try it. And I tried it, and after a few years, it turned like it, off and on I would pinstripe, and then all of a sudden, like, that switch turned on, and that was it. Like, it was game on from then on. So, and I've had wonderful experiences with it. I've met some of the best people in my life because of it, and it's given me great opportunities. And to be honored, so young with it is pretty mind-blowing, and I'm grateful.
Yeah. I guess one of the questions that I have, kind of thinking about that right there, and it's probably what leads up to you being awarded, I guess, with something like this at such a young age. Have you ever taken a break since you started almost 20 years ago, or have you been full bore the whole time?
The first few years it was off and on because I had other art that I was doing. And I had a full-time job, of course, while I was learning. But no, it's been like I didn't ever like have a year where like I didn't touch a paintbrush. Like 2009, I kind of did less of it, and that was like my most unhappy year. And I was like, at the end of the year, I was like, why wasn't this year as memorable as the previous years? And it was because I did less pinstriping that year. And then 2010, it was like, that was it. Like I knew in 2010, right then and there, like that's what I wanted to do with my life, like for the rest of my life. And I remember probably around 2013, I met Joel Peters out of Chicago, and he was following my art even before I was doing pinstriping. He knew of me before then. And he said to me, he's like, I really saw you change your art. Like he knew when that light bulb turned on for me, and he's like, it was around 2010. I was like, damn, Joel, you're right. So that was cool that someone noticed it. But
what kind of art were you doing prior to that?
I focused a lot on fine art and like photorealism with graphite drawings and hi-fi grayscale pastels. And I did other things like mosaic and clay and photography. I did all my own photography to do all my drawings from, because like I didn't want to just copy someone's picture off the internet, like I was inspired by photographer David Perry, and like I loved his use of black and white high contrast of the automotive, custom culture world. So I was really inspired with his stuff. So I just went out with a film camera because, I was early enough where not everyone had a digital camera, and I would go to the car shows. I mean, I was like 13, 14 years old. That's running awesome. Around car shows, like with my own black and white film camera, taking pictures. And I really wanted to focus on details of cars and reflections. I just didn't want like a full, like 3/4 view of a vehicle. I wanted to focus on like the reflections in, grills and headlight bezels and, the curves of certain cars. So that's what that got in. And then through high school, like I did nothing but car art. Like if it was like if I was drawing anything, it was basically all vehicle and automotive related, and which drove my art teachers crazy. But it was like I was producing so much in such a short time while I was in high school, art related, that like I filled the whole entire rotunda of my school with drawings. And it was just like my gallery. It was pretty neat. And then after high school, I was taking those. Well, during high school, I was taking those drawings and going into custom culture art shows with them. And then when I was 18, just out of high school, it was September after I graduated, like I was at a car show, and someone was like, oh, we were having a conversation in the parking lot, and they were like, hey, you should like learn how to pinstripe. And like before then, I never thought of it. And I don't know if I would be here today if that person didn't say that at that time, because an earshot was someone who overheard this conversation, and that person came up to me and he's like, are you the chick that draws cars? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't know who he was. And he's like, hold on a second. And he went, somewhere, and he came back with like that can of Coral One Shot, and he handed it to me. He's like, here you go. And like, I'd never seen the can of paint before. I never heard of it before. I didn't know what an enamel was. I was like, okay. And that was it. And it turned out that was Anthony White. And he's very dear to my heart because of that. And yeah, so that's the stuff I did before pinstriping and the introduction to pinstriping.
How many times have you given somebody a brush or a can of paint since then?
Oh my God, probably 10. And I hope, one day, like I'm going to be someone's Anthony White. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do that from time to time, and it's almost always, really young kids.
Yeah.
Teenagers usually, but yeah, it's kind of cool. You've got that hope that you're going to see something continue out of it.
Yeah, because you never know. You never know. Because, like, if you think about it, like, he gave me that can 6 years before I really did something with it, And so some people get into the art form and they stick with it right away. I've met, Mike Montana's, I think I'm saying his last name right. He's only been pinstriping for a year, and he's like insane. And that's awesome to see, where like there might be someone that may pick it up and put it down, pick it up, and life happens. I moved in that time, I changed jobs in that time, like I left the state that I grew up in, like, so there was a lot of things that and I was doing other things, so you never know who you're going to inspire, and it might take them longer or it might take them shorter to get there, but it'll be cool. And I love seeing people get it,
Yeah. Oh, Freddie, do you have anything you wanted to ask?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to chime in right there. But on that same token, the videos are kind of also helping to guide people with your videos and such, right?
Oh yeah, like, and that's awesome. When I learned there was no YouTube, I learned and had to flip through the yellow pages to get, where to buy things, because the internet wasn't what we know it as today. And so with the videos, and I'm a visual learner too, so like there was a lot of stuff that I had to figure out. My uncle gave me like a 15-minute lesson, because it turns out he pinstriped in the 80s and I had no idea. Like I didn't believe him when he said that he pinstriped. I was like, no, you don't. And he did. So but he showed me how to hold the brush and how to load the brush, and how like the basic strokes are, and that was it. He's like, that's all I'm going to show you, because that's all that was shown to me. So, I had to take that and run with it, and I didn't talk to any other painters, and this is back before Facebook, so it was like, I was alone with a brush and a can of paint, and I figured it out, and with the help of YouTube and even like, videos on Instagram. As a lefty, you hear people when they like, talk, they're like, oh, make sure the flat side's against your thumb. Well, if you tell a lefty that, they're holding the brush upside down, So when the videos were put out, on my Eastwood video I did with them, I made sure to talk about that. It's like, if you're a lefty, it doesn't hold true. So, I had so many people emailing me saying thank you for that, because they were holding the brush upside down for like 6 months. And I had multiple people tell me that. Because even on Facebook, when you ask in a group, like, how do I hold my brush? People just tell you, like, they instantly assume that person's a right-handed painter, and they say flat parts of the thumb. They don't ask them if they're a left or right-handed painter, So I made sure that I made reference to that. And yeah, I get people emailing me all the time, thank you for the videos and stuff. And I'm happy to help.
I remember watching that Eastwood video early on, and it was really well done, that video. That was a really good video. Some of them are a little bit I don't know, I guess not as well done. But I remember I could still go back to that video and watch it. And it's wild to see that your style really is held on for a long time. Your visual style. I've always been kind of curious, where do you suppose your style sort of developed from? Was there some people that you kind of
well, yeah, I would attribute that to where I kind of am in the world on the East Coast.
Okay.
Anthony White has heavily influenced me, his style. The One-Armed Bandit, Charlie.
Oh, he's bad.
I love his style.
Yeah, he's super good.
I love his work. And then also, the first time I ever saw like a David Hightower piece, I was like absolutely blown away. I first saw one of his pieces probably in like late 2013 or early 2014, and I was like, oh my god. Or maybe it was sooner than that. Earlier than that. I can't remember. But like his work, when I saw his work, I noticed my stuff definitely changed a bit. It's not that I tried to copy him, but I was definitely inspired by him. And I was like, well, I'm not afraid to put, 8 colors on a panel anymore after seeing his work. So yeah, like the little, if I do a fill-in and I take like the outline color and I cross over, on top of the fill-in color, like the little lines, like the hash marks or whatever.
Yeah, I just tried to do that and failed myself.
That's definitely Anthony White and the One-Armed Bandit. And there's other artists that do them, but they're the ones that I've seen do it the longest, So I've been doing that since the beginning of my pinstriping lifetime.
Yeah, those are those little things really add a lot. To me, it almost looks like tube socks, like the two lines at the top of a tube sock. It turns a sock into something else. You know what I mean?
And I've always liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's other artists that inspired me in other ways. Like, before I even started pinstriping, I saw a piece done by Alex in Wonderland, and I was 14 at the time, rocking my film camera at a car show up in Connecticut. And I saw that piece and I was absolutely blown away. I literally ran after the car trying to get a picture of the trunk lid as I'm reloading a film camera, which I didn't successfully do before the car left the car show. And it was a big piece done on the trunk lid, and it was basically like 2 birds, and it was just so organically beautiful in an array of colors, like from one color spectrum to the other. And that really inspired me, and that was in the back of my mind. And then when with 2010, when the light bulb turned on with me with pinstriping, I went back to that vision in my head, and I still haven't at that time period had a picture of that trunk lid, but it was burnt in my mind. I'm like, pinstriping doesn't have to be just what you normally see on vehicles. It can be other things. It can be influenced by other things. And I started incorporating Art Deco motifs and Art Nouveau motifs, and also like dogs. I started doing like pinstripe dog faces in 2010, and it's just I kind of all like went back to what I saw on that trunk lid. It doesn't have to be just, you know, what we're normally seeing on cars. Like it can be inspired by other things.
And you know, in the faces that you do, I dig mostly not just because they look like what you're trying to make, but they still look like pinstriping.
Yeah,
I see some folks do it pinstriping, but it's almost like I don't even know how to explain it.
Filling in the spaces without thinking about, with lines. Yeah. That's something that I've always, you know, like I've thought about, and I want it to make sense on the level that I want to stay true to the way I like to work. You know, I never wanted to just put a line somewhere just for putting a line somewhere. You know, like I want to make sure it makes sense in the design realm of how I like to look at work.
Yeah, I dig that stuff. There's a lot about your stuff that I go back to all the time, and it reminds me of when we all got a chance to do the Butler thing, which is where we first met.
Yeah.
Being able to see people's stuff like Zeke Lemansky.
Oh my God, amazing, right?
And it really makes you think that a lot of the stuff that we attempt now kind of's already been done in some way.
Oh, absolutely. Like the only, like, and I am not a subscriber to magazines, like a lot, like sometimes I do, but the only time I really got to see something outside of what is normally seen on the East Coast on the cars is the Pinstripe Hall of Fame on MacBrush's website. And that was before I found the Pinhead Lounge. And I remember seeing some Zeke Lemansky pieces, some early Alan Johnson, David Hightower pieces on there. And it was like, whoa, you know, and like, of course, Steve Shizeka, you know, you see those pieces that they were producing in the 80s and 90s, and it's like, oh, what the hell am I doing? You know, like they've been there, done that, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I'm like, man, I'm trying to play catch up of trying to get my work, you know, to be, you know, out there, you know, like, and they've done so much. And I was just up at Jeff Campbell's shop, and I'm like looking at the wall, and there was like just a word painted, and I'm like looking at the inside of the word, and like the stippling effect and the shading and the beveling on just one word. It's like, whoa, you know, like it's cool to see, you know, they've been there, done that. And there's so many amazing artists like that. And the Pinhead Lounge, you know, I loved that site, you know, and you looked up at the Hall of Fame on there, you know, it was just like Zeke and Jack Linenberger and, you know, all those Alan Johnson and, you know, Steve Shizeka and Sid Bess. And it was just awesome. Jim Norris. And that work is spectacular, and it'll always be timeless in my mind.
Yeah. And now you're up there. And now, like when we went up to the Butler thing and we were all just hanging out, like watching the thing, you're like, I remember you saying like, I'm hungry. Let's go get some food. Right. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm sitting down, we're eating food. I'm like, I'm eating food with Hot Rod Gin. This is fucking crazy. So I'm sitting there, I'm eating with Freddie, you know, like your work is insane. Man, I just mess around. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just mess around. I just happen to.
That's how I feel. Like, I just tell people, I'm like, I'm just a nerd who paints. That's, you know, that's me in a nutshell.
And the lettering stuff, how did you get about to where you started doing, were you always doing some lettering? Because I know that's a big part of what you do now.
Hell no. When I started pinstriping, I wanted nothing to do with lettering, and that's very short-sighted in me. I was never interested in lettering, you know, and up until I think 2013. And I was stubborn. I'm stubborn. Like, I'll admit it. I was interested in pinstriping. I really focused on that, and I put everything else aside. And now I really enjoy lettering. I still have a lot to learn. I'm not going to say I'll probably never say, like, you know, I'm not going to be. It's lettering for me is harder for, you know, than pinstriping for sure, because there's so much
There's a lot of rules. There's a lot
of rules, yeah, and I'm not much one for rules, and I do respect it. I feel like you need to respect the rules of lettering because they are there for a reason and they make sense, and I respect it. And it takes me longer in my mind to grasp things on the lettering front. It's easier for me to, like, my brush mechanics are there for it. It's just the mental game of lettering and layout and spacing, and the fundamentals are there, and it's taken me a lot shorter time nowadays to do a layout than it used to. So the more you do it, the more easier it'll get and everything like that, and I do enjoy it. And but it's a lot different than pinstriping because there are rules. It's not there's not freedom to it in most cases, and there is and there isn't. If you're doing a sign for a business, you got to make sure it's readable, and that's something that I think when you start out you don't think about when it comes to lettering on the pinstripe. Let's say you're doing a truck door. Some people may not think about is this going to be visible when you're driving down the road next to the truck.
Yeah.
Once I took a class up in Cincinnati with Jeff Devey, and it was a truck lettering class, and he told me about like the squint test, and man, I drove from Cincinnati, Ohio, all the way back home to Pennsylvania, like squinting at every truck that passed me, and I was like, fail, like, oh, that one passed, that one failed, and it made like learning from him about that and like color theory with lettering. Oh man, that opened up a whole new perspective, and that helped me out big time. And like I've had so many people help me. Like it's funny, I was so alone with pinstriping, and then lettering, it was like a whole different ball field. I had so many people help me, and still to this day help me with lettering. Andy Capuccio.
Andy's awesome.
Andy's a sweetheart. And like I was like with black lettering, I thought every letter had to fit in the same size box. Like you had a 2-inch by 2-inch box, and you had to fit every single letter to fit. Like my R's were all 2 inches wide, and he was like, no, like that's not how it's done. And I spent an afternoon with him, and he showed me like, A's are wider, N's are, and I was like, whoa, okay, and of course, Glenn Weisgerber, I took a class by him, and he's just a freaking beast when it comes to lettering, and he's very insightful on that, and that helped. Todd Hansen, I pick his brain all the time with lettering and spacing, especially spacing. I've had a hard time with that, like because like spacing changes depending on your background color. Like you lay it out on a white piece of paper and it looks good, but then you put it on a black truck and you're doing a white letter. Well, it looks totally different, like, so visually, it looks different, because white expands. So he's helped me a lot with lettering, and, so yeah, lettering's difficult, but I like it.
I was wondering, because I'm sitting here kind of doing the math, I guess. You said you started around 2004, and Yep. You didn't start lettering until 10 years later, basically.
Yeah.
Do you think that was an advantage or a disadvantage, I guess, both to your striping and your lettering?
I think it was an advantage to my pinstriping because I became obsessive with it, and I really dedicated pretty much all my time to it. But it was a disadvantage to my lettering. Like I'll fully admit it. And I think, and that's my personality. Like, I will become obsessive with something and sacrifice other things for it. Like with the pinstriping, I sacrificed vacations, I sacrificed me going dancing, which was something that was huge. Like I would do that, 3-4 nights a week. I stopped doing that. I stopped going to concerts. I stopped, going and enjoying like free time. Like I wasn't taking weekends. I wasn't, like I was working on my art nonstop. Like I had no life. My husband would see me at dinner time and that was it. It got to the point it was like, okay, like I need to spend time with my husband. So, but that's me. And there's other people that are able to, balance all three, like pinstriping, lettering, and spraying a lot better than than I've been able to. But pinstriping will always be like a complete passion for me. And then like now I'm obsessed with gold leaf. Like my obsession with gold leaf is almost mirrored as my obsession with pinstriping.
You're my go-to person to ask questions for on gold leaf. So
it's crazy. Like I've had a few veterans come and ask me like how I'm doing it, and I'm just like, what? Like you're so and so. Like you've been leafing. Your work is amazing. So it's kind of but I'm a nerd that way. Like once I want to learn something, I kind of become obsessive about it. Like I'll go deep dive research. It's stupid.
Well, kind of switching gears, I guess, a little bit, but kind of, I don't know, a couple questions kind of comes back to that. Normally we ask, and we didn't at the beginning of this, where it is that you're at and where you started at location wise, just in case other people might relate to that.
Oh, yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey. I'm very proud of that. I love New Jersey. And then in my early 20s, I moved to Pennsylvania, like the east side of Pennsylvania. So I was still close to my home state. And now I'm in the center of the state, kind of like the southeastern central part of the state. The state is huge, like not as big as Texas. But I live in Pennsylvania, like I live in like right next door to Hershey, Pennsylvania. So it's like car country out here. We have the AACA in Hershey, which is the Antique Auto Club of America. And they have like that big swap meet in the fall that people from all around the world come to. But like other than that, we have Carlisle, which has car events throughout the whole year. So I kind of landed in a really good spot when it comes to vehicle work. And also, the fire engines are still, a lot of them are done, hand done with gold leaf too. So kind of
I think that's spot. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate with that too. I love it.
Well, that's, again, everything kind of seems to lead into each other question wise.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things I was thinking about with that, and while you were talking before, and then relating it to myself, I started pinstriping around the same time, but I was in Mississippi. And
oh, really?
To go to a car show, if I ever even saw pinstriping on a car show, it was rare.
Oh, wow.
To hear you talk about, seeing, all this different stuff at car shows at that same kind of age kind of blows my mind. And then we've interviewed so many people, it seems like, from that Northeast area.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
Yeah. And I remember at one point in time you saying something about Texas. You're like, there's so many of you guys. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, up where you're at, there's so many.
There's a lot in Texas, but Texas is huge, and it is spread out. Like in New Jersey, where I grew up in New Jersey, I mean, I was seeing cars by Anthony White, Alan Johnson, Glenn Weisgerber, Alex Wonderland, Mr. J. I mean, it was endless. And then like when I was 13, I started going to custom culture car shows, which were different than, like the cruise nights. And, I went to Letty's when I was a baby. But that was like more 50s, sock hop style, customs. But the custom culture shows, I was 13 traveling up to Connecticut for the road agent show, and that's where One on Bandit would stripe. There was this artist Caffeine, he would stripe. There was rockabilly bands, and then I started going down to Philly and then Delaware for the Hot Rod Hoedown. That's really where I got my start. That's where I got my first can of paint. But in meeting other pinstripers there, but there was so many hot rods and custom cars with pinstriping on them at those style shows. So I got to see a lot of cool work.
Sounds like there's a really cool scene up there.
Oh, there used to be. Like 2008, 2010, like it kind of died off because of the recession.
Right.
Like I used to go to Asbury Lanes 3 nights a week for bands and bowling. And there was like, we would park our cars on the sidewalk. It was a desolated town. It was, it was impoverished. And now it's like, I have to pay $28 for parking, at that town. It got crazy, like $1 million high-rise condos and stuff like that, where like it was not like that when I was going there. But the car scene was awesome in that area. And now it's, it was pretty cool. Rob Ida and his friends are trying to bring back the Asbury Circuit, which was like done in the late 60s, early 70s in Asbury Park, and with car cruising and like that. But and it's funny because like in New Jersey, I was able to go to a car cruise every day of the week except Monday. Like there was different car cruises all over every day of the week. And I moved to Pennsylvania and there's like none, which is weird, because we have so many car stuff around us. But like, I think there's like one car cruise that I know of that happens on a regular basis, and that's it. So things really changed around 2008, 2010 with that, aspect of it. But it is
Have you seen any changes? I mean, you said that there's some people trying to bring things back, but do you see any kind of resurgence, or do you see things moving farther away? Or
the car cruise I see moving farther away, except that in New Jersey, which they were doing on Thursday nights in the spring and summer and early fall, and then they're doing it a little bit on Sunday if the weather is nice in New Jersey. But that's 3 hours away from me, so I don't go out to that. I went like twice because I was, if I'm doing work for Rob, I'll come down, like make sure like one of the days I'm down there is on a Thursday so I can enjoy the car cruises. But out this way, no. Like we have Cars and Coffee a little bit, but not like as for like the classic cars. I mean, they show up to those, but not like the cruise nights like I'm used to, like growing up wise. You know what I mean? I mean,
were you in?
Come on.
Are you in more of like a rural area then, or?
Not so much. I'm between Hershey and Harrisburg is the the state capital, and it's considered a city. And I'm just north of Lancaster, which is a city, but then also like sprawling agricultural farms and Amish farms. So, but like across the highway from me, like I butt up against like a highway, but on the other side of the highway is like farm fields, and like caverns, like Indio Echo caverns and stuff like that. But so like it takes me like 2 minutes to get to like farm country if I go one way, and then if I stick to another way, it's all like city.
I'm curious to know, Jen, did you ever get into doing motorcycle rallies? I don't see a whole lot of motorcycle stuff coming out of your pages.
Nope.
And
I stuck with my car people.
It's because you have a love for cars over bikes.
I do. I mean, I like motorcycles, but this might offend some people. It may not. Take it as it is. But when you're a female, there's certain crowds that I wanted to deal with, and certain crowds that I may not have wanted to deal with at the time, because I had a bad experience with a group of motorcycle people when I was a teenager at an event. Like this is when I was 14, and it left a big impression on me. And then also again, another same group left another bad impression on me in my early 20s when I was at another car show. And it was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to go work at, rallies. I rather do motorcycle work on appointment base, and I do motorcycles. I mean, I just had one. I had motorcycle work last week in here, and I just don't want to deal with the drunken motorcycle rally crowd. It's a lot different than, from my experience, than the drunken car crowd. I mean, a lot different. So yeah, like it's something, because the rallies you're working and they're long hours and stuff like that, and then later people drink, the more fresh they get sometimes. And as a petite woman who does all these shows alone by herself, like it's just something that I didn't want to put myself up to.
Yeah, that's understandable. Those bad impressions can last a while.
Yeah, Like, I never had to worry about, you know, my physical self at a car show, really, you know. Those two experiences left a pretty good, long-lasting impression on me. And I'm not saying they're all bad people. You know, I'm not saying motorcycle people are bad people. I mean, like, I'm married to a motorcycle person, but in those certain events, you know, I'm just like, I just don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, just personal experiences. I had a sort of a negative experience just doing a rally. Somebody threw a tarp over some fresh work of mine, and it made me back off quite a bit because I was like, oh my god, I felt so bad after that. Because now I got something with my name on there. It's got paint missing off of it, but I'm trying. I mean, go ahead.
It happens, you know. It is what it is, and it's like I just personally rather deal with car people at a show and then motorcycle people by appointment base, you know. And like, even so, like, I stopped striping at car shows a few years ago. Like, once in a while I'll still do them, but you know, I used to do those, I mean, you know, all the time. And like, I just rather work appointment based, period, no matter what it is nowadays.
And sorry, one last question, Jack. As a female, do you feel like you got particular challenges that you come across that maybe guys don't have, or maybe even advantages?
Yeah, worrying about creepy people once in a while.
Yeah,
like I've had, you know, and I'm not going to talk about it on here, but I've had one thing that really creeped me out, and I was like, what the hell? You know, and you have, you know, for me, like, I do appointment based where I'm going to these people's places, you know, their homes.
Yeah.
I mean, I had more than one creepy experience, actually. I mean, I leave my husband the address and the phone number and the contact information, everything, if I feel creeped out. You know, I'm like, hey, you know, if you don't hear from me in 45 minutes, I'm at this location, you know, check for the body here. But I mean, I've had some of those. And then also, when you're a female and you're doing a show, even if your banner says Hot Rod Jen, and, you know, you have a man next to you, whether it's your husband or a friend, and you're hanging out in the booth and you're waiting for people to, you know, come in and buy something, or, you know, want you to pinstripe something, they always will go up to the guy and ask them for pinstriping. Like, my husband's like, he barely ever comes with me, like, to these shows, but like 2 times he did. And each time, multiple times that day, people ask him, like, hey, how much for pinstriping? And he's like, my name's not Jen. You know, like, you know, it's like, and that happens. I mean, you talk to a lot of female pinstripers, they experience the same thing all the time. And also, but that doesn't, I mean, that is what it is. I mean, one day maybe the mindset will change that, you know, pinstripers aren't just males. I've had people, like, they'll walk up to me as I'm painting a car and they're like, you're a girl. Like, I'm like, well, yeah, I am. Thanks for reminding me. And they're like, well, you're pinstriping. I'm like, yeah, like, we can do this too, you know? So like that, I hopefully people will start changing their mindsets and not stop being so shocked when they see a female do it. But yeah, like, dealing with the creeps, or, you know, sometimes like that. But I haven't had someone, like, you know, be belligerent, you know, towards me when it comes to, like, being a female in this type of work.
Yeah. All right, Jack, go ahead. I didn't know if you had something you wanted to share.
That's all right. I was you mentioned that you used to do a lot of shows. Do you still do many shows at all?
No. Like, that's because, like, for 7 years straight, I did pinstriping on the road at car shows, and it's like, and I do it by myself, so, like, no help whatsoever. So, you know, you wake up in the morning, you drive to the show. A lot of the shows that I attend to are like 2 hours away, maybe 3 hours away, like the custom culture style shows. And then I stripe all day in the heat because they're all in summertime. And then you have to pack up and go home. And, you know, I was a car chick before I was a pinstriper. And, you know, when you're working at these shows, you get to work on what comes in your booth. And then half the times they don't want to drive the car towards your booth. They don't want to give up their parking spot, and they're in the blazing sun. And it's like, well, I have this whole entire booth. I can't leave it unattended. So it's like a constant struggle with that. And then like the weather out here, it's hot and humid in the summer. Like Jack, you know how that is, striping and hot and humid. So I did that for 7 years. Saturday I would be at one show, Sunday I would be at another show, like Friday nights I would be at a show, and it was just like, I get to see 4 or 5 cars a day. I'm not a fast pinstriper, and I'll never claim to be a fast pinstriper. And so you have 20 people that want work done. And then if you go to the bathroom, they get mad at you, on the East Coast at least. They get mad at you. They're like, what do you have time to go to the bathroom, but you don't have time to do my dashboard? I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? Like, you want to go? And then also like eating, like, it's hard to eat at those shows, and so it got to the point where, like, I think one of the, the last deciding shows that I did, I striped, I was up at 4 a.m. and I set up by 8:30. And then I striped until like, I think 7 o'clock at night. And I tried driving home, and it was like I was drunk. Like I had double vision. I kid you not, I had double vision. And it was like 103 degrees that day. And I had double vision. I had to pull over and just close my eyes, not fall asleep. I just had to close my eyes because my eyes were so focused on something like 2 or 3 inches away from my, face, that like when I actually had to look like away from 3 inches, my eyes couldn't handle it. So I was like, oh, this is for the birds, So
you just described my life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Jack, you will get tired of it, So, but I much enjoy appointment work, and so I decided to do that, and then try to take back my weekends a little bit. But I still go to car shows. I could go to car shows now to enjoy the cars again, and enjoy the people. And I've met. Before I had my pinstriping, I had a car family. Like, when I started going to these car shows, I had a family friend take me to them when I was like 13, 14. And before I got my license, as soon as I got my license, I was like gone. I was like, see you later, Mom and Dad. I'm going out of state to this car show, and I'm going to see blah, 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 blah. And my dad was like, I don't know how I feel about my daughter going out of state and people know her, like know who she is. So I was like, well, come out to the car show and see what it's about. Like it's safe. Like, it's okay. And he came out, and he's like, he met the people I was referring to. And he's like, after the show, he's like, I'm not worried about you going to these shows. He's like, you've got like 50 more dads and like 80 more brothers watching out for you. And that's held true like all these years. Like, I've been broken down in states, and I just put something on the internet, and like, boom, someone is 5 miles away and they're coming to help me. I was stuck in Chicago, and I had like someone, on the internet, like who I actually knew in person. They're like, hey, I get off at work at 2:30. If you don't catch a flight, I'll come pick you up and drive you up to Milwaukee. And like my parents are seeing this on there, and they're like, we're not worried about you driving cross country anymore. It's the hot rodder. Like, when, I don't know if you were part of the ham at all.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
if a hot rodder was down in a certain state, like we would put out like an SOS, like hot rodder down, blah, 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 blah. And like people would go out of their way to help, and that is what that community is. And, I have my hot rod family, my pinstripe family, and like my wall dog family. So it's pretty cool, and my own family. So it's like, I've got a lot of good people in my corner.
Oh, dead airspace there. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
No, I was trying to, I guess, think in my brain there. So many things going through it. I wanted to ask a little bit about what your business looks like now, but you just triggered something that I hadn't even thought about going into this that I definitely wanted to ask you about, and that's the whole wall dogs thing. I guess take that in whatever direction you want.
Okay, so the wall dogs is funny because like I went up to Cincinnati for the Letterhead Sporty meet, and the whole time we were there, like I signed up for classes because I have so much more to learn. So I signed up for block littering class, the truck littering class, faux finishing class and a few other ones. But then outside of all the classworks, outside of the sign museum, the wall dogs were there. And I don't think I've ever heard of them before then. And they were doing all these murals outside on different buildings around the parking lot. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And they're so pretty. And it's such large work. You know, it's like you're not painting like a 18-inch by 20-inch area or whatever. And I was like, that's really cool. And someone was like, oh, get up here and paint. And I was like, oh, no, you know, like, I don't know what to do. And I was thrown up on the wall. So I got up on the scaffold and I painted the word "the" on part of, I think it was the Crosley mural. And that was it. Like, I didn't want it, like, they were not my brushes, you know, it was all latex, you know, water-based paint. And I was like, I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to, like, I don't know what's going on with this mural. Like, "the" was drawn out. So I'll just fill that in. And I did that. But it was so relaxing, like just hanging up there on the scaffold with my feet hanging down, you know, like I was like, I enjoy that. That was cool. And then that was it. And then the next year, that was 2014. So 2016, I believe it was, maybe it was 15, I don't know. But Jill Welsh, have you met Jill Welsh out of Pennsylvania?
I know the name, but no, I haven't.
She was going to host the Wall Dog Meet in Pennsylvania, and I knew her from the panel jams. And so she was going to host, and she was going to have a wall of her own. And she invited me. I was like, well, I've never done that before. She's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, come on out. I was like, okay. So I was comfortable because I knew her. And so I started working on the Wall Dogs in Butler, PA. I did the Coca-Cola mural with her. And it was nice. I got introduced. You know, you go through like this hazing process with the Wall Dogs. It's nothing. It's interesting. Let's say I got messy. But so I did that, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was fun. So then the next year I went up to Rhode Island, and then I did murals up there. And then I was invited out to Streator, Illinois, I believe it was. And I worked with Chris Lovelady. And I didn't know who he was because I knew the designer, Jason Nail, because I worked with him in Butler. So Jason Nail was the designer in Streator with Lovelady. And man, like that's when, because like with Jill's mural, I was like, oh my God, like, is this okay? Is this perfect? You know, like, she's like, Jen, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's perfect. You know, like, you know, I was so like, I didn't want to mess anything up. I was so worried because I've never done it before. And then Rhode Island, it was fun. But at Streator, it was like, okay, like, I understand this process now. And there was like a lot of problem solving that needed to happen on that. Because like, you never know what you're going to get when you show up. You never know what your wall's going to, you know, texture-wise and layout-wise can be a little difficult sometimes. And there were certain things that needed to be figured out. And it's like, I just was like very hands-on with that, even though it wasn't my mural to be like, you know, okay, well, let's do it this way, or like, let's do this. Cause like it, you know, it was a lot of problem solving, and I was, you know, I was really on top of that and like keeping things like, we need to do this. And it was 103 to 104 degrees all week that week. And we were in the sun, like we had a south facing wall. So it was a lot like, okay, we had a lot of work to do. So it was really nice being, you know, finally it clicking in my mind. And then I worked with Lovelady again in Keene, New Hampshire, which is beautiful. And then after that, I was invited to do a leading wall in Oregon. And I was like, okay. And
that was last year, right?
That was last year. And then like when I was starting the wall, like I did not want to leave the wall like the first 3 years. Like I wanted to be painting like all the time. And then after learning so much, and learning, like you don't get paid when you're just a volunteer artist for those. But I learned so much with the first 3 murals that like after the third one, it was like I was able to feel confident enough in my business to be like, okay, if people want mural work done, like I'm confident enough to offer it. And I got a few murals, you know, that way. So, you know, I made money in the long run, you know, like you learn so much from everyone and just the experience, and like, you know, you gain confidence that way. So I was able to, you know, utilize that in my business. But then when I was invited to do the leading, well, like, no, sorry. Up in Keene, New Hampshire, there was a lot of people that I talked about the Wall Dogs to that never went to Wall Dogs. And they, you know, 2 people came out to the Wall Dogs that, you know, were never there. And I was like, okay, well, you need to paint. So you go in, like, I was showing them how to do things and like what was what. And then, you know, I was painting up and there was like no more space in the scaffold. And I saw a friend of mine, like he still didn't paint on any mural because he didn't know anyone. I was like, well, you come up here and paint. Like I gave up my spot and I was like, you know, go up there and paint, like go have fun. And like that was so good for me. Like in my heart, I'm like, I just want everyone to experience it because it is, I've cried at like, I think every Wall Dog experience. Like people are so grateful that you come to their community and brighten it up and, you know, take their historical figures and bring light to them. And out in Oregon, you know, I had, I think 4 trade tech students on my wall. So that was really, really great to have. I had quite a few people that never went to, well, a lot of people that never went to a Wall Dogs, you know, event on my mural, you know, and, you know, just helping them out and showing them like, okay. And like one kid was like well, they're not kids, they're adults, but one guy like painted like the wrong color in a wrong section. You know, he was like, oh, I was like, dude, it's okay. It's only paint. Like we got this, like give it 10 minutes, we'll dry and we'll paint right over it. You know, like it's, you know, showing them that, you know, everything's fixable on that end, you know, it was cool. And
that's something I want to do really, really bad.
Yeah, you should. It's so heartwarming and I've learned so much and it's so much fun. The next one, there's one in Florida. The same weekend Freddie's doing his lesson.
Yeah, like everything else is happening that same weekend.
Yeah, everything's happening that same weekend. And then there's one in the summer, I believe in Illinois and Iowa, like area, I think, or somewhere up there. I haven't gotten the details on that one yet, but yeah, it's cool.
So are you going to these yearly then, or are you?
When they have them, yeah, like they stopped because of COVID, obviously, for like 2 years maybe. And then, so now, because once I started, I haven't stopped basically. And then this year I was going to go to the High Springs one in Florida, but I don't think I will because I have a lot going on. I might end up doing the one in the summertime, but I don't know. Like I want to do that, but I'm building that garage and then I have a lot of other stuff going on. So the March one might be a little bit too close to everything that's going on. So.
Well, if you ever get your own wall again, keep in mind that your friend Jack wants to go to a Wall Dogs.
I will throw you right up on there.
Yeah, throw Jack.
That's where I got my start. Really, is murals.
Well, Jack, you've done murals here.
Yeah, I know you're started good for it. In the 90s.
Yeah, so it's funny because like this mural. Oh, this is bad. This is like frightening. So a lot of times when you're a project leader, you will have like a core group of people that you know you can count on to work on your wall. And there's a lot of Wall Dogs like that work together on like murals throughout. You know, I'm like, oh, well, that's the Canadian group over there, you know, they work well together and they're a team. So it's cool. But every person I asked to be like on my wall, they had their own wall or were already committed to another wall. So I was like, oh my God. And I'm still like kind of like a Wall Dog newbie. So my pool doesn't go that deep with them. And like, also it's out in Oregon. So a lot of them that normally would come to like the ones in the Midwest or the East weren't going to the Oregon one. So I was like, holy cow. My friend Louie, who like started on the same wall as me in the Coca-Cola mural in Mars, Pennsylvania. We've worked on, I think, every mural together since, except maybe one. But like he's like, I'm going, and like he's my travel buddy. Like if we go to like, you know, some wall dog thing, we'll like travel to, like, you know, go sightseeing together. So Wednesday morning he flew in, and I was already in town, and we went out to breakfast, and he's like, so who's working on the wall with us? And I looked at him, I'm like, just you so far. And he's like, he looked at me like in dread because I had all these portrait faces to do. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it's only you. And he was like, oh man. But then like, this is Wall Dog magic right here. So Wednesday afternoon is the sign-ups. Like you know, the volunteers come in and they sign up on what murals they would like to work on. And I go to like sign in, be like, hey, I'm here, you know, and they're like, oh, if you want to see who's on your sheet, your wall dog sheet's over there. So I go like look at my sheet, and I was sweating bullets because like I had Louis, just me and Louis, you know, and I look at my sheet, and there was like 17 people signed up for my mural. And I was like, whoa. And I look at the names, I'm like, okay, we're good, you know. And there's a lot of names I didn't know, like the, you know, the trade tech kids and stuff like that. And one of the people that signed up was Joshua Schultz. I forget how to say his last name correctly, but I said to him, I was like, oh, you're good at faces. And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, he's like, well, and then he's like talking to this other lady, and she's like, oh yeah, like I'm from Washington. I've never been to a wall dog meet. I've been sign painting for a while, and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, are you good at faces? She's like, yeah. And she started showing him his faces. Then he brings her over to me, and he's like, hey, meet Sandy. And I was like, hey, Sandy. And she shows me her faces, like, so do you have a mural yet? And she's like, no. I was like, can you work on mine? And she was like, so great at the portraiture. I was like, you saved my butt, Sandy, you know. And she was great. And it was like, it all came together. It was fantastic. But yeah, I went in there just having one person signed up, and then it's like, boom.
I'm used to working on murals with just one other person or by myself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What is that organization? I'm not familiar with it, so I don't really know. How would you describe this organization to somebody who doesn't know anything about it?
So the Wall Dogs is a group of various artists from around the world that will come together on their own dime and paint murals on brick buildings or big panels that will get attached to buildings in towns that might need a little like uplifting in the community. So, and then we paint murals that depict, you know, why the town was founded, or who, you know, famous people through the town, and like in Streeter, the man who discovered Pluto was born there. So like there was, you know, one for him, sports heroes, women's rights, civil rights, you know, things that have historically impacted the town. We paint that along their streets, and that's really cool because, I mean, I've met people from Australia, England, Canada, you know, France, like all over the world that we come together and we just paint. And it is like, there's some artists that play music, and there's, you know, dancing and, you know, fun, and it's great experience. But, and then the town can turn around. Like I know Streeter, like they do Streeter and Keene, like they'll do like walking tours through, you know, the year with their communities, and, you know, talk about the murals and, you know, who they're about and what they did to their community.
That's really cool. I'm going to have to take a look at that and see see what it's about. I'd never heard of them before.
And like the layout, like some of them, you know, they're world-class sign painters, and like the layout work that they do, it's stunning looking at these. They have a website, I think it's Wall Dogs International, but there's a Wall Dog book I believe Jay Allen did, and the pictures on that are really spectacular.
Heck yeah, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting closer to the end. I had a question for you that I wanted to ask on a separate note. Well, really two of them, but one right now that I'm thinking, because I remember you were mentioning your business. Is there some direction that you'd like your business to go in that you're currently maybe not there yet, or something that you got kind of on the horizon that you're thinking about more?
Well,
Or are you cool
I'm-
cool how things are going right now?
I am, but I want more. I want to do more. I've been working. If I'm not on the road, I'm in a basement studio, and I'm limited to what I can do in there, obviously, because it's below my living quarters. So I'm building that garage, and I want to get more into airbrushing and spraying things for my own sake. So I want to, because I can't airbrush down here. So doing that, I want to get more into that, of course. And then also, I really want to get more into the fire engine work. The fire apparatus gold leafing world is something that really intrigues me, and I am fully enjoying myself when I'm doing it. And I've been doing repair work for a company for fire apparatus for 6 years. I'm going on 6 years, or it might be 6 years now. And I want to expand more on that for sure, and get my foot in the door more on that, working outside of that one company. I want to do brand new fire trucks more.
Well, hopefully some folks will hear this and send some more work your way.
Yeah, that's fun. It's good work.
And the other question that we always ask people towards the end, and I sent you a message to have you think about it ahead of time, is do you have any extraordinary, strange, weird, or fun story that you'd like to tell people here on the podcast?
Kind of have two.
Go for it.
Like
Go
one's kind of short. So
no worries. We got plenty of time. It's fine.
Okay. So this kind of goes back anyway. So 2010. It's 2010 now. This is when I was getting my groove was on with pinstriping, and I went out to Viva for dancing. I just wanted to go no painting. I was going with a dance friend and just dancing from 3 in the afternoon till 3 in the morning for 4 days straight or whatever. So I'm out on the dance floor, and I dance Lindy, Balboa, East Coast, and ballroom. And out on the East Coast, we don't dance rockabilly jive unless you're in New York City. And they do a lot of rockabilly jive out in Viva. And there was a woman that came up to me, and she's like, "Would you like to dance?" And I warned her. I was like, "I don't do the jive." And she's like, "Well, you will now." And she she just led me, and I got it, I'm good follow. So I was like, okay. And she was intimidating, so I wasn't going to tell her no. And then so I got the hang of it a little bit, beginner jive, and dance with a few different people. And when you're out at Viva, the dancers are from all around the world. And there are some that don't speak any English. And there are some that, speak English pretty well, but it's still kind of hard to understand. So I was dancing with various people, and this one gentleman came up to me and they asked me to dance, and I knew he wasn't from the States. He had an accent. And while you dance, you kind of, while you're dancing, you kind of introduce yourself, my name's Jen, and they always ask you, what do you do, blah, 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 blah. So this guy's like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I'm like, "I'm Jen." And I was like, "Oh, what's your name?" He's like, "Kesha." I'm like, "Nice." And we're dancing the whole entire time this is happening. And he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a florist, but I'm also pinstriping." And he looked at me, and we're dancing, and we're bopping, jiving, totally bopping around. And he's like, "Are you Hot Rod Jen?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm Kesha on the..." I was like, and he says his last name is Plantrov. It's hard to pronounce, but I was like, "Are you on Pinhead Lounge?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Holy shit. I love your work." I knew exactly whose work it was. And Pinhead Lounge, we never posted pictures of ourselves, so, but here I am dancing with someone, and he's from Austria, and it was just what are the chances? And we entered the jive contest together and everything. It was fun. It was that was weird and random encounter. And then another story is, this is really a heartwarming story. I started going to Artie's party in 2013, and that's really when I started meeting these pinstripers. And because I didn't even know panel jams existed in 2012. 2012, like late 2012, I found out about panel jams. I was like, whoa, like people get together and pinstripe together. And so 2013, I made it there, and then I met everyone, and like it's a big family. Like it's so nice. Like Artie is the man, and it's intimidating at first going there for the first time, but after like you realize like everyone's like a big family, it's just like, okay, game on. Well, then in 2015, it was in July, and I just got back from getting married, drove cross country, got married in the middle of Wyoming, and came back home and went to Artie's party. And so Gary, the local brush, was off painting in a corner, and I was doing my own thing in a corner, and he's like, hey, I'd like to show you something. So he like takes me over near his stand, and like he had something on another easel and like next to something else, and I'm looking at something else, and I'm like, you know, there's so much to look at, like it's hard to focus on something. And he's like, no, look over here. And it was like a huge portrait of my face. And it was really like, it was like a spitting image of me. It was really done nice. It was all grayscale, which I freaking love. And he had pink in my hair because like my hair was always pink. And it said Syracuse Nationals on it with pinstriping. I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? You know, it blew me away. It was beautiful. And he put it up for auction. And all of a sudden, like, and I'm like, who's going to bid on my face, you know? And like we were, me and my husband were money tight. I mean, we just got married, and like we had like a 2.5 week trip across the country, you know? And so I was trying to bid on it, and I was like, it got up there, like, and it got up there, and I was like, well, I can't afford that right now, you know? And I was like, who's going to put my face in their living room, you know? And I turn around, and all the pinstripers are bidding on it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And like, it turns out like they all got together and chipped in and bid on it for me to give it to me. So they gave it to me right there. I mean, it raised over $1,000+. It might've been 2,000. I forget how much it was. And they handed it to me. Well, I started crying. Gary was crying. Everyone was crying. You know, it was like not a dry eye in the, you know, the room. And that was really special. And it hangs in my room. It's a good reminder of, you know, my pinstripe family. Those are my two stories.
That is a great story. That really goes to show the community, man. The community behind this is insanely supportive. Oh,
absolutely. They're all great people.
Yeah. Everybody I've met so far has been just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are good stories, Jen. We appreciate it. Jack, you got any more questions?
Oh, I kind of do, but I feel it's probably going to push us on for a little while.
I'm cool with it. If Jen's cool,
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I don't know if you.
Yeah,
got stuff to do.
It's shipping and layout day, so I've got a little time.
Well, you mentioned panel jams and stuff, and you and I actually talked. I don't remember, was it maybe a week ago or less?
Yeah, last week. Yeah.
I've kind of. I don't know if I'd say stuck my foot in my mouth or what, but I'm trying to get the panel jam back to Dallas that was previously here, but change it up. You know, we've got a new group of people that's putting it together, a new name, basically new face, try to do it a little bit different. And you and I kind of talked about that a little bit, but I thought, you know, Freddie's gone to his first panel jam this past year.
Yeah, it was fun.
You've been to a few. I'm curious from the two of you guys, what do you... I don't know, what advice or suggestions or successes and stuff have you seen that you guys think would be good that I should keep in my mind as we're putting this one together?
Oh, there's a laundry list. I can't tell you how many I've been to. I told you about, you know, the thinner, you know, like random little things that you might not think about when you're putting it on. But things that I have found at different panel jams that I enjoy is Crazy Paint. They started doing a buy it now table for items, I think, under $150. And that's nice because like the auctions, you know, you're only given such amount of time where you can do the auctions. You know, it might be one a day or two times a day. Well, you know, you have a crowd that they might only be in the show for 2 hours, and it's not one of those hours that the auction's on. So the buy it now table, I think, was really spectacular of Crazy Paint to think about. And, you know, it's little items, and it gives people more of an opportunity to bring something home and more of an opportunity to money go to the charity. Because the fact is, like, you know, you're there for the charity, you know, this is going on for the charity. And so that's a good way to bring in income for them. And then also, if you're doing an actual panel jam, that is really good to have to get the crowd involved rather than just have a whole bunch of people in a corner painting and then things go up for auction. So before the auction part goes off, you basically, at a lot of the panel gyms I've gone to, and it helps to grab the crowd's interest into what is about to happen, is you do the jam. So you have that, you know, the easel with the 6 panels with 6 artists, and they get a minute a panel to work on it. You know, they all have their designated color. And I think the one time we did that in Texas at that jam, like, they tried doing 2 minutes. Well, that extends the time way too long. So you got to keep it at a minute. Or 90 seconds.
Seems so fast.
A minute or 90 seconds, I think it is. So I know it seems fast, and it is fast. But while the panel jam's going on and the artists are talking, it's nice to have your announcer or your auctioneer talk to the crowd. And that's something that I know happened in Texas that was really nice. Like, whoever was on the speaker was talking to the crowd and talking about each artist and, like, kind of joking with the crowd and, like, edging the artist on. And, like, you know, it's fun. Like, you edge the artist on, you kind of, you know, not poke fun, but, you know, we do poke fun at each other, and it's okay. We get it. And that kind of grabs the crowd in before the auction starts. And then the first thing of part of the auction is the crowd bids on the panels, you know? So that's a good attention grabber, because I've been to other auctions. I mean, I've been to other charity jams where they don't do that. And then it's harder to grab the people in before the auction begins. So, like, the first few pieces are going to be like dead space pieces because you don't have a lot of people in the front of the crowd bidding on stuff. So yeah, that's my suggestions.
How about you, Freddie?
Well, for me, I don't know if you would call what we did a panel jam so much in that sense that it wasn't, I don't know. We're all just kind of in a house painting. And I was, you know, trying to keep up with the guys because they were drinking. So
and they got you with that speech bit.
Yeah, they had
that
me.
That was awesome.
Man, I get there and they're like, "Hey, you gotta do a speech." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You're fucking kidding me!" And they're like, "No, you gotta do a speech." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And then the next day, John's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Dude, you could send it to me PowerPoint or, you know, I don't."
Oh my god!
Yeah. And I'm like, "What? I gotta I don't have I don't have a computer. What do you want?" So I get up in front of John. I'm like, "Look, this is what I'm gonna say. Hey, I'm Freddie. Yada yada." I try to give him just a quick thing. You know, thank you to Nauvoo. Thank you to you know, John McCarty. Thank you for everyone for it's a beautiful town. I love this place. You know, go whatever team I do. So he was accepting it, and then at the end they're like, right as he's about to bring me up, he's like, I'm just fucking with you. You ain't got to do a thing.
Oh, that was hilarious.
So they got me. But no, the one thing that I did notice that sold quicker was Ford, Dodge, Mercury, stuff with car names on it. If it is a car show, or Harley Davidson, or the town, or the event, things that have that stuff incorporated in it seem to have sold faster for more money.
Yeah.
Versus just the pinstriping thing. Like, you damn near have to create a sign with pinstriping. That's
and people like 3-dimensional items.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not think about that.
There's, you know, the wall art is great and they go well, but I've seen piggy banks and trash cans go freaking out of this world. You know, it's weird. But
yeah, trash cans would be good. I haven't thought about that. We need to get some.
I mean, everyone, you know, people who have garages with cars, you know, they want a cool trash can. So
yeah.
Yep.
I might even have to do some of those for my booth for working at car shows.
Yeah. And lately, like, I've been doing like vases, like glass vases. And like these jams, these car shows, they're, very well attended with men, but, some of them bring their wives with them, and, it's nice to have some art that, their wives would like to bid on. And I mean, this is, crazy. I've had a charger, like a plate charger, like a fancy plate. I did designs on those, and I had one go for $1,000.
Wow.
It's like, you never know. And it was a woman, and I can tell you right now, it is a male dominated field, as in the work itself, and then the interest itself. The people that follow me, 88% are male. So, the few females that I do have following my work, it is nice to be able to, do something where they're able to enjoy it too.
You mentioned vases, and I can't help but think of the ones that Bob Bahomet keeps posting pictures of.
Gorgeous.
Those take it to a whole different level.
Yeah, he does the cobalt blue ones with variegated leaf. It's so pretty.
And they look so Art Deco.
And they're so freaking precise too. And
yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Bob is on another planet. He's so sweet. It's not talking about Bob. In the sign world, I mean, he's the man. He's so genuine and nice, and it's nice seeing how people revere him for that. And I've been to the Wall Dog meets that I've been to, like the one I was at, word got out that Bob was coming, and you can see all these older sign people get all excited and nervous because they're going to meet Bob for the first time. And, I'm like, he is as nice as he is in person as he is on the internet,
He is. He's very awesome genuine. Guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's somebody we need to try and get on the show.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we need
his work is so nice. I love that he uses a lot of muted colors on his work with the bigger fills in the background, and it's so cool.
Yeah, I think for pinstripe and stuff, he's one of the people that I really try to look at the most and figure out how he's doing what he's doing, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, his moves really look modern too. Like what he does looks super
absolutely.
Modern. And,
yeah.
And I dig his stuff a lot too. I remember having breakfast with him and some of the guys up there, and unfortunately being somebody that didn't grow up in the car world or understanding much about paint or lettering or art. I didn't know I was sitting with legends. You know what I mean? It's wild. It's wild to now.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was, and him and I were sitting there sharing pictures on our phones that we were taking of ghost signs and stuff in the area.
Isn't that funny? The first time I encountered Glenn Weisgerber, I was unknowing. I was at Mr. J's Under the Influence party, and that was my first meet. This was before I went to Artie's party. It was shortly before I went to Artie's party. And I was like, whoa, and I knew Mr. J from the car show scene, and Alan Johnson from the car show scene, and Joe Solpe. And then that's about it. And it was funny, I show up and my uncle shows up. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? And he was working for a custom culture magazine at the time. He's like, I'm here with the magazine. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, it's so nice to see you here. Well, he knew Glenn from back in the day, because Glenn used to letter at Englishtown Drag Strip. And my uncle and my dad, they grew up going there. My dad worked there, I grew up going there later in the day. So in walks Glenn. Now, this is the first time I ever seen Glenn. I didn't know who he was. And I knew his work on Shirley Modowney's car, but I didn't know who did it at the time. And he walks in with this big black furry vest on with a purple shirt underneath and a top hat and his big black bushy hair. And I was like, whoa, who's that? I'm totally intimidated by him. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go off in this corner and just start painting something. And then there was a guy kind of following me around, and he didn't introduce himself, and I was also kind of intimidated by that, and I was like, what's going on? So then I was like, I want to be by my uncle. So I went outside, and my uncle was watching Glenn. letter a Camaro. So I went out and I stood next to Glenn. I mean, my uncle Glenn and then Glenn, it's confusing. There's two Glens. So I'm standing next to my uncle Glenn, and then that guy that's been watching me like throughout the day, like comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Jen, do you know how to letter?" Or like, "Nope." And he's like, "Would you like to learn?" I'm like, "Yep." And like we went back inside and he was showing me, some basics like stroke, like how to pull a stroke and, stuff like that and letter stuff. I was like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, he was telling me how Mr. J helped him learn and Andy Capuccio. And then, like there's Alan Johnson's in the room. And all of a sudden, like Ron is his name that helped me like for the first time. He put my name on a panel. And then Andy Capuccio put my name on the panel. Alan Johnson came and painted my name on the panel. And then Glenn Weisgerber comes in. And I was like, and my uncle reveres Glenn, like people revere Bob. Like my uncle loves Glenn's work. And so Glenn painted my name on the panel. And my uncle was like, I remember watching him paint back in the day. And, so it's kind of cool, like meeting people in a way that, I didn't know who he was at the time, and now Glenn Weisgerber is amazing, and it's really been a pleasure watching his work and learning about his work more through the years. But I would have never known he this incredible talent was in this intimidating black furry vest wearing man.
Yeah, there's so many names, man. It makes me feel like we need to do this more often because there's so many names and so many stories that we. But it's hard, as you can see. Sometimes it's hard to just get three people in line to just have
on
a conversation. Phone. Yeah, it's difficult.
That has been the biggest challenge.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of women. I would love an interview being done with Alicia Jennings.
I will write that name down.
She's a lady pinstriper. Sign painter, airbrusher, painter, does everything, and she's out in like Washington State. And I met her once. Like I'm not a fangirl. Like I'm like very like chill, and like if it's not Willie Nelson walking in the room, I probably would be like totally fine with anyone else. Like. And then at a Wall Dog meet, I had no idea she was even coming. And I was walking out of a building and I turned the corner on this building and there was Alicia Jennings walking towards me. And I like squealed like a little girl. I was like, Alicia Jennings! And I was like so amazed because it's like, holy cow, like in the flesh, in person, right in front of me. And she didn't know who I was. And I was like, oh my God, I loved your work. And she's like, thanks. She was really nice. But I was like, oh my, I couldn't believe that happened. And she's Monkey Signs on YouTube. She doesn't have a Facebook presence, but she's been in the industry, longer before I was born. She's awesome. But I don't know her like backstory of how she got started, and that would be cool to hear.
All right, so that's our mission from Jen.
Yeah.
Jack, we got a mission. We got to find Alicia.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I actually got to go to sleep. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I got to get this shipping.
Yeah, I got to get to work.
Yeah.
Well, we
great.
appreciate
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time, Jen. And
well, I love what you guys are doing, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well,
thank
you so much for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah, and stay in touch.
Yep.
It's always good to talk to you.
Yep. Same.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to sling some paint together here soon.
Oh, we got it. Let me tell you, I might have a panel jam. Right. So I'll be hitting you guys up.
Well, if things go off good this year, I might invite both of you for next year.
Hell yeah.
All right, we're there.
All right, guys. Catch you later.
Okay.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Bye.
And now, folks, here's a little conversation between Jack Fleming and I. So what do you got going on, Jack? What's been happening? What is new? What is on Jack's plate?
Well, I've kind of slowed down on doing work a little bit lately, in a way, I guess, because car show season is pretty stagnant around here. until it warms up a little bit. So I've been working on moving everything out of my garage and into storage so I can turn it into a little bit of kind of like a sign shop, small shop where I could pull motorcycles and stuff in rather than spending all my time on the road traveling to other people. That's probably one of the biggest things. Also working on getting ready to paint my little truck. Kind of about it.
Well, you're also doing a panel jam, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's huge. That's coming up next month.
Give us the dates, the place. Give us like legitimate details here.
Oh, geez, I'm going to have to look up the dates here. It is at the Dallas Autorama.
Okay.
I'm looking up the date. But I guess what I could tell you is I think I've got about 15 artists signed up at the moment.
That's awesome. Was that like roughly the amount of people that are normally there?
So they had a panel jam here, and I think it was for like 10 years. And I think they had 25 artist spots. The people that were running it before, awesome people. I've got quite a few of them on board helping out now. We're kind of taking it, I guess, in a little bit different direction, different group of people running it, give those people a break. Let's see, I've got my calendar up here. It is February 17th through 19th at the Dallas Market Hall, I think is what it's called.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting, man. I don't know if there's any way for me to try to get up there and do it, but if there's a chance, I'm going to look and see. It's such short notice. It's the only issue.
You could send us a panel. You could donate a panel.
Okay. I did not consider. No, I'm down with that. Yeah, I did not consider that.
It's kind of cool. I've had a few people reach out and ask if they could donate a panel, and I got one in yesterday from Matt McCool, NW Stripes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that
really cool panel.
Yeah, he's doing some cool work. I got some stickers from him.
Yeah, he sent some stickers with it, a little note and all, but I've got that one going. I think 2 other people have reached out. I've thought about, and I don't know if it would be a taboo thing to do or something like that, but I thought about making a post, on one of the Facebook groups or something, say, hey, if anybody wants to donate panels, we'd love to have it. To me, it's super, super cool to have somebody that's not there think that the little show that we're putting on is cool enough that they want to contribute.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. If you don't ask, you'll never know. I'm sure that there are folks that are willing to help out. And sure, I got one I've actually already started with no particular use for, so I'll see if I can finish it and send it your way.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, everything that we're doing on this one, it's got a charity auction with it, and all the proceeds from that go to the Scottish Rite Hospital, Children's Hospital in Dallas. So
very cool. Well, hopefully it's a good turnout. Hopefully you make lots of money, and it helps out the charity a lot. And I hope.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Some of the names, I guess, that we've got. We had Tanner on here before that we interviewed. He's going to be there.
Cool.
Loki, mostly mostly Texas folks. You and I have kind of chit-chatted, I think, on here before. You've got a Crisco in Florida. We got a Crisco here in Texas. He's coming.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Kate Cook is going to be there. Like I said, there's a list. It's like 15. So.
Well, that's good that you already got 15 people, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we're going to kind of try and keep it that size for this year. And next year, hopefully grow it. Maybe we can get you out.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think I'm the only one I got planned for this year is still Nauvoo, just because it's the entry level, the entry fee is nothing, right? Because they hook you up with the damn house and all that.
Right.
And I was able to ride with Anthony, which I'm assuming is still cool. I don't think I bothered them too much, so hopefully the invite's still there. But yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna just keep trying to do more stuff, man. I got that. We're gonna be doing a roller derby this Saturday, so we'll see how that goes. I painted one of the newest member that's gonna be out there. I painted her helmet, so that's how I got the idea to get out there and try to be one of the vendors.
I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was really hot the first time we went. We went just to go check it out. And it was really hot, so I think it was like difficult. But they're trying really hard to make it an indoor thing. I think they have a space, but something's going on to where they're working up to get back into that space. I think,
so it's an outdoor event.
yes, there's an actual little space that I don't know if it's made for that, but yeah, it's at like a park right now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought it was awesome, and you never know, right? You never know what type of folks are going to be there with what. So maybe I might get exposed to some folks that might want some pinstriping or more lettering, or maybe I'll get a chance to do more helmets. I mean, you don't know, right? You never know unless you do it.
Are there normally vendors there?
Yes, last time we went there was a girl with some like pour, the pour, acrylic pour.
Okay. Not a poor girl that was panhandling at it.
Yeah, she was super poor, man. No, she does the acrylic pour stuff. There was somebody selling like, I don't even know, like keychains and a bunch of little trinkets. And there's your person that makes your soaps, selling soaps, and like a craft
right
market vibe. I think there was somebody selling leather. It's like the same 5 things over and over and over.
You need to get you some helmets ahead of time and do something up on them.
I have no space, dude. I'm in this tiny apartment. Looking at this one gas tank bugs me out because it's just like the only thing that doesn't lay flat in here.
Hanging on the wall.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Until it sells. So something I started doing, I've got the wall behind where I work in my studio space. All my stuff that hasn't sold, I hang up there. That way when I'm shooting videos for my YouTube channel or whatnot, that's my backdrop.
That's a good idea. I've completely stopped making videos because I've been so damn busy, but I need to get back to it. I feel like I'm getting spread thin again, but it's like I feel good about it because I'm doing stuff. You know what I mean?
I think Reels have killed the video star. Is that what's going on?
Reels are quick. Boy, you make the the quick ones, and I'll tell you what, YouTube right now is giving me like $80 a month, right? If I'm active, it gets up to 100. If I post like fairly regularly, but I can make $100 a month on Instagram Reels without much effort. It takes a lot more effort to get that money up on YouTube, but YouTube's already without no effort. I'm getting like 65.
You're killing it compared to me. I'm making 0 on YouTube.
Well, it takes a minute. I mean, I've been on there for
I know.
six years, right? And so, I mean, to be on there for 6 years and only be making $60 really is not that great,
right,
considering the amount of time and effort that I put into it. But in my mind, the whole idea with me doing them videos about halfway through was, if by chance this art blows up, or if by chance we get our limelight, where people are looking into pinstriping, I would like to be in a position to capitalize. The videos are...
Man, I have an idea that's kind of... You just jogged my memory. I wanted to tell you about.
Okay.
Sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. I was done.
So I was kind of thinking, since I've been setting up this panel jam, and actually in the interview that we have with Jen, I think, or maybe it was on the phone, I don't remember, but she mentioned, one of the things that sometimes is needed at panel jams that people don't donate is like cups and paper towels. And I thought, how cool would it be if somehow we make enough money or whatnot off the podcast? We're definitely not there right now, but to where we could start sending a banner and like cups and paper towels to all these big panel jams, as being a sponsor in a way.
That's a good idea. I mean, that's
Pinstripers. I mean, it's going directly to the people who listen to us. So
yeah, and helping the situation,
exactly,
helping the charities, and getting them the things that nobody thinks about.
Exactly,
cups and paper towels, like snakes and sparklers. The stuff nobody cares about.
But no, I thought that would be pretty cool. I mean, we don't have a lot that we can donate, but I mean, donating cups and paper towels isn't a lot. So
yeah, and you can order it on Amazon and have it delivered. It's not like we have to get it.
There you go.
And that's a great idea. That's a really deep, off the wall idea. Like That's like you're playing 4D chess, man. I didn't even think about it.
Well, I think of what we're doing with the podcast is a benefit to Pinstripers. I mean, that's kind of what we're always been aiming for, right?
Yeah.
Capture these stories and stuff that we all kind of really want and stuff. It's just another way that we can benefit Pinstripers.
I think it's a good idea, man. Write that down for me because I don't have nothing in front of me.
Dude, it's recorded.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We're recording right now. But yeah, that's I got a fella that's coming down from a fella named Hal that's been watching my stuff. He's going to bring 2 guitars. I think he's arriving this weekend. He's going to get 2 guitars for me to pinstripe while he's here, and then his truck while he's here. So I thought at some point during the week I'm going to try to grab the guitars, work on them, and then on the weekend go do his truck. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like every weekend so far, and that's kind of the hopefully the goal is to maintain busy every weekend. I feel like I slacked last year in some ways, so I'm trying to pick it back up. Oh, and big shout out to Crystal Brookshire. She's the one that invited me to set up at the Eastbound Get Down, I think it was called.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about that show.
It was cold. It was a little too cold. But yeah, Crystal invited me to set up with her. So she paid for the vendor spot and was like, yeah, just come on down and you can set up. And I thought that was really, really nice of her. So I think we're
now, is she a striper too? Or?
Yeah, she does a little striping. She does a little airbrushing. She does a little bit of everything. She doesn't have a whole lot of work out there. I think she's more learning currently. But she's her and her husband, they have a shop, I think, and they do custom work on cars. So they got lowriders, they got cool stuff, and I think she's also part of like the pinup kind of crew, right? So she does the pinup stuff, and but yeah, it was really kind of her to allow me to set up there, and I think that's gonna be something we're gonna be doing in the future, maybe coexisting in places. That way we can kind of cover more area together.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel a little more comfortable when there's somebody else there, man. Just,
Yeah, no, I've got, the sponsor we had today is the guy that works my booth with me. And it is such a big help and benefit to have one other person with you.
Yeah, and why not somebody else that has, not just similar interests, but also some stuff for sale. They can make some money. They can learn at the same time. We can learn from each other. So Nikki used to come out quite a bit, but sometimes it's like too much. It's so many people. It's so hectic. It's like too much for her. But yeah, so that's the idea. I invited her to do the just this morning. I invited her to do the roller derby thing, but she was unavailable. So on to the next one.
That's my slate for today is getting back on scheduling car shows. I've got quite a few scheduled for the year, but I need to start filling gaps in the calendar.
I'm going to start taking a look. I think my February is a little busy because of my side audio work. So as long as it doesn't all have to be pinstriping. As long as I'm staying busy, like on the weekends, and I'll try to schedule myself a day off. Because she was
probably way more opportunity in Florida this time of year than there is here.
I believe so, but I think you have to already know them to squeeze in there. I know I'm going to be doing a VW thing with my buddy Cameron here, the guy that owns all the VWs. He wanted me to set up there all weekend with him and pinstripe he's got a thing. I think it's called a thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little scary because it's like very patina, white patina. So I really don't know how to tackle that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We'll see. Because he wants kind of more of my scroll and thicker fills, like the feathery fills. So,
yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe I'll just hit it with some fat lines, some fatter lines. So we'll see.
Is it really rough? Like I've striped on rust and stuff before, so I mean,
I'll have to take a look at it. I don't think any of his stuff is rusty. I just think it's very patina. Like,
yeah, probably just clean it really well with glass cleaner.
Yeah, but I'm thinking more along the lines of tackling a funky background.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, busy on busy is sometimes a little too much.
Yeah, so we'll see how I get around to doing it. Because even if you do too thin, it's like then it's not visible, right?
Right.
So I guess it's going to be another learning experience.
Now, my thing in approaching older patina jobs is I start with glass cleaner and then find a little test spot somewhere that's inconspicuous and start with my lightest, least harsh, other cleaner that I have and then work my way up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I ordered a beta box. Did you see that?
I saw that you ordered one.
I've not got it yet. Fucking thing's $500, man. Whew. That hurt.
I went the cheap route. I got the stackable rigid boxes from Home Depot for like $240 or something.
Man, I think you would have been better off getting the damn beta box. Everything's
Really?
together, and you just roll it, and it becomes a table. So you don't.
I like these a lot because it's got big fat wheels in the back. So if I'm rolling around at car shows in the dirt and whatnot, there's no issues there. And then the other thing I like about them, because I still do signs and windows and stuff, is I can stack them to different heights to either sit or stand on to work from.
Okay, that makes sense. So they become chairs.
They become chairs or stools. Even when I'm working on trucks and stuff, I can stand, like, they're strong enough to hold a lot of weight standing on top of them. So I stand on top of them if I'm working on a bigger truck or...
Yeah, I don't, I seen how everybody's got theirs, the beta box thing set up. It just looked really like super useful. And then the drawers, each drawer slides out. So everything you put in, you could slide out. I think Tracy McKenzie's selling some 3D printed things for the top to where you can hold certain bottles, some cups. And I think he works off of playing cards. So he's got a little slot for playing cards.
Right.
But
I'm not knocking them. I think they're awesome. I'm just too frugal for them.
For playing, the beta box. Yeah, well,
for the beta box, not for playing cards.
I saved up. I saved up with the stuff on my PayPal, so I never touched anything that I was sold through PayPal. I just kind of added onto it slowly. And then when I went and did this last show, I crossed that threshold and I said, I'm going to go ahead and get it. Because with these, I have a little cosmetic box that also breaks into pieces. But it's really not useful for anything else, and everything is up on the floor. If I'm going to go work on something, I bring my little TV tray that I've had for years now, and that's what I pallet on or rest my things on. But even that's a little too low. So I'm always slightly bent over, and then I'm picking stuff up off the ground, and then I'm losing things. I don't know where I left my bottles, and I just really need something to be in one spot.
Yes. No, that's having a box like that is a big game changer, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and we're doing the classes in March too. We're still trying to. I need to get with Robert, and we need to start lining up how we're going to do it exactly. So we got that going on. March 24th, 25th, and 26th in the Ink the Bay in Tampa.
That's cool. Well, that's something else too, I guess, that's on the forefront, I guess, of things in the pinstriping world. Is he started that paint cult deal?
Yeah, I'm. I know I'm somewhat. We're both sort of involved, but I have no idea really what it is.
Yeah. Well, my understanding is it's like an online learning deal, like like Skillshare or something like that, I guess is what it's going to become.
It's cool. The only thing that I don't want to say bothers me, but the only thing that I'm thinking in my head is I've already given out all my information. There's like four things that I still want to put on videos that I haven't put on videos that it's going to end up on my YouTube. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how I'm going to contribute, but hey, whatever. I'm trying to say yes to things, and that's one of the things I said yes to,
Freddie the yes man.
Man, I'm running. Whatever. If I can make it, if I could be there, if I can go do it, I'm gonna go try to do it. Why not? It's weird to have a name associated with pinstriping and not really do that much work. It's, to me, it's strange. Like, I feel like I have a fairly well developed presence online where folks know me and such, but like I don't do a ton of work, so I'm trying to get Trying to even.
I'm excited to see you do shows. I think it's going to be cool. I think you'll find what I found too. The more shows I do, the more work I get outside of shows. So
yeah, I need to get business cards. I spoke to some people, and I saw Gooch. I met Gooch. I told you. Well, I think I spoke about it on the podcast a little, but Mikey was out there pinstriping. Mikey Aries from.
I don't know him.
Oh, he's super cool. Very tall fella. But he come up and he's like, man, I love your work. It was like the second time I met him, but this is the first time I had my stuff out. And he said, man, it's really good to see you out here. I'm really glad you're doing it. And I said, man, that felt good. Felt good to hear that from.
So that was at that Eastbound Get Down?
Yeah. There was a decent.
Y'all had quite a few stripers there, though.
Well, Mikey was just walking around.
Okay.
That other fella.
Jerry
Licks.
Laying Licks.
Yeah. Laying Licks he was super cool. I sat there and spoke to him quite a bit. And then Brandon McCoy swung by my booth. Gooch swung by the booth, and he was like looking at my stuff. He's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he was kind of pointing out how some things are derived from certain people and such. And he's like, well, how much for this and how much for that? And I gave him a price, and I was like, dude, if you want to just do a swap, we could just trade. And he's like, yeah, if you want, or I'll pay you, or whatever, So I just thought it was interesting that he was wanting to get something of mine. So I was pretty tickled by that because, you never know. You never know with people, with other pinstripers. What do they have a need for, stuff when they can do it themselves? So it's always nice when another pinstriper wants some of your stuff, I think.
Yeah, but it's cool to have stuff from other stripers.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I was like, let's do a trade. So I got one of his little 3-tiered fold-out things.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Then you get to study it.
Yeah, well, he's, it's,
how did he do this?
it's how should I say? It's fairly thick pinstriping, and it's elongated. It's a very long design. Which I'm learning makes more sense to have
when you're striping cars and stuff, it definitely speeds things up.
Yes, I'm learning that because over here at my apartment, if I'm working on a panel, I'm trying to find cooler ways to get from point A to point B. But on a car at a show, you just want to get there. You don't want all this, zigging and zagging and bobbing and weaving because it's just going to add more work that's, and you've already got a quote. You just want to get from point A to point B and make it usually a fairly simple design. So learning, man, learning. But that's it, Jack. I'm going to let you go, man. I got to get to sleep.
All right.
I feel like everything we do now is going to be me saying, yeah, I got to go to sleep now.
Yeah, I got to get to work.
All right, Bubba. Well, we'll talk
Back
soon.
to the paintbrush.
Yeah. I'll see you. I'll see what I can send over to you as soon as I can.
Okay.
All right, dude. Take care.
All right. Bye.